Thank you so very much for inviting us here. First, how's everybody doing? How are we doing? First, on behalf of Mikey, Cheryl, and I, we're just excited to be before this group because our hearts are exactly where all of your hearts are. As you know, Mikey was a leader in the military, as a prosecutor. She's been a fighter her whole life. Myself, I'm a fighter as well. As an African American growing up in corporate America and government and other things, it's been important for me to really fight for the rights of all people. Some of you may know that my dad, Dr. Martin Luther King, that my dad marched arm in arm with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. One of my favorite pictures is a picture of my dad, Ralph Abernathy, and Dr. King in Boston in 1965 to do a march to integrate the Boston public schools. My dad was in Selma with Dr. King. My dad was in the March on Washington. So those values are very near and dear to my heart. My mom was a school teacher for 50 years in 5 different states. So the issues that we want to talk about today are really the issues that you have. You know, I'm also a pastor of Covenant United Methodist Church. And I've been around a long time, so that's why I've done a lot of things. And in the Bible, there's something called Proverbs 31, 8-9. And we've really adopted that. It means to be a voice for the voiceless and speak up for the destitute. That's why we're here. One of the realities is that the people who are doing work, one of the things when I first met with Mikey, and Mikey is just such an incredible leader and an incredible listener, I said, I want to create a coalition of the small. I want to create a coalition of small nonprofits, of small businesses, of small educational institutions, of small religious, faith-based institutions. Because so often those are the organizations that serve people. And yet they don't often have the voice that they should have because they don't have opportunities to really access lobbyists and other things. So what we're really looking to do and why we're running is that we're both fighters, but we want to fight for people who've not had the full voice that they deserve so that we can transform New Jersey. So what are some of the issues here? Obviously, Mikey's talked a lot about affordability. She talked about a day one, an executive order to really freeze utility rates, which have gone way up. But then to begin to look at, you can applaud for that, But also we need to look at how the operations of government, the focus on this customer service culture out there. My background at Deloitte, we did a lot of public sector work. We have to make sure that the regulations that are out there actually work for people, many of the people who are voiceless, so that they can have an existence and can afford to live in New Jersey. In addition, as we talk about making government work for folks, I've been a big advocate for small businesses. And the reason that I've been an advocate for labor, of course, obviously working is so essential. And one of the responsibilities of government is to really create, not only to keep people safe, but create an environment where people can actually work and make a living. And so there are ways to do that. One is with labor unions, which we're obviously very, very supportive of, but also with small businesses. One of the things that I did is I got the legislature to approve a working group to study something that I call entrepreneur zones. And the idea is that in urban communities, what we want to do is to help those businesses become more successful and then create trauma-informed job training so folks in the business can actually get jobs and be able to pay their bills. When I was head of a school in Trenton, the Village Charter School, and I was on the New Brunswick Board of Education for 26 years, and in 2009, I was the New Jersey School Board Member of the Year. And so I've seen public schools from all sides. And one of the terms I've coined is the urban traumatic stress disorder. That many of our students look like they have post-traumatic stress disorder, but it's continuous. It's more than that. And I've given a lot of presentations. I was in the Newark Public Schools doing that. And many teachers said, that's it. That's what my kids have. That I'm teaching my heart out. These kids are really smart, but they're dealing with trauma. And what it does is it affects the amygdala part of the brain. And so what we need to do are things like mindfulness and other things. And if we don't pay attention to that, We can put all the money we want into schools, but we have to make sure that socially, emotionally, every student has the support they need so they can be all that they can be. The other thing is, as we talk about and we start to look at New Jersey, and so I'm new. I've been here a month and a half, and I didn't expect to be here. I love being president of a university, Centenary University in Hackettstown, New Jersey, and pastor of a church, as I said, Covenant Methodist Church in Plainfield. Mikey loves being a congresswoman. So we're going after this at a time that's very difficult. We have an assault in Washington, assaulting all the vulnerable people, right? I mean, there's a direct assault. There's an intentional assault on people who are vulnerable. And so what we have to do, and what this next leadership in New Jersey has to do, is to stand up to Washington, to stand up for those people. So Mikey and I will follow the Constitution. We support the rule of law, but we will push back. And if we have to sue the Trump administration, push back against those assaults that are really transforming America into a state that's controlled by external forces.
A dictatorship.
And one of the reasons this election is so important, our opponent, Jack Trump, I call him Jack Trump, said there's nothing that he disagrees with Trump. Right? So when you talk about some of those things, I have, in my family, there's Alzheimer's. We have cancer, as many of you have Alzheimer's and cancers. They've cut funding for that. So not only the folks in this room, but the next generation, when you cut funding and you have to start over with the next administration, that's critical. That should be reason enough not to vote for Jack. But where Centenary is, it's in Trump country. And I was talking to someone about that. A woman in their 60, 65 or so. And I was saying, well, they've cut this funding. And she said, well, it's all fraud. So what we need you to do is to really get out and educate people to say, do you understand what's happening? Do you understand what's going on? And that if states, if leadership, if governors don't stand up to it, we are going to move to an existence in New Jersey that is going back 50, 60 years. So we really need your help. We really need your support. And yeah, there are issues, there are outside issues. We're looking at some global issues and other things, but we have to keep a laser focus on New Jersey. We have to make it affordable. We have to make it safe for the most vulnerable. We have to make sure that there's enough support for folks who my mom's 90 and she has Alzheimer's. So this idea of Mikey and I are talking about making sure that there's support so people can provide care for their aging parents. So we really are beginning to look at what is working in New Jersey and how do we fix it. The other thing is, I talk a lot about consulting, is to really take a look at how can we make government more efficient. When Governor Florio first came into office, he asked a number of consulting firms to do pro bono work. And I actually led the review of human services. And so what I discovered was that there's about $110 million of opportunities that they could take advantage of. So we need your support in really beginning to step back and look at government to say, how can government work best for people? There are anecdotal stories of people who want to dig in their backyard and they can't do it. It takes 3 months to get approval for that. Small businesses I was Ocean County, and a small business person had a t-shirt business and had to rent a tent to be in the fair. It was the Pride Fair in Toms River. And because of Trump's tariffs, the tent, which cost $600, cost $1,700.
Oh.
I just don't understand why anybody would vote for people who support what's going on in Washington. know we're going to be here till 7, and I'm definitely going to leave some time for questions. But I really want to really kind of give you a sense of what we're looking at from Mikey and my perspective. So as we begin to look at all of the areas that need support, this is a challenging time because we have to counter many of the things that are happening in the Trump administration. One of the other things is, how many of you love our shore? New Jersey shore. It's beautiful, right? That's one of my favorite things about campaigning is I get a chance to go from the shore to the mountains. The other day, I had to drive from Cape May in the morning and get up to Hackettstown at 7:30. So I did a 2.5-hour drive through the state. It's beautiful. Well, we've had these things called storms on the shore. And Trump has pulled all of the emergency money from those shore towns. So God forbid something bad happens there. So that's why it's not enough for just you to vote. We've got to get out, and we've got to tell folks that we have people who are going to be in Trenton who actually agree with our issues. Public schools need to be fully funded. But that funding has to be sensitive to the social emotional issues, as I talked about. One of the things that we're really looking at, and I've talked some about the K to 21, the K to 21 look at things. And so at Centenary University, we've partnered with a group in Pleasantville called the Ideal Institute of Technology. And what they've done is actually use workforce development money to pay people to actually learn construction engineering. And they revamped the old Atlantic City press building. And so my university, Centenary, has a space there. So we're now the westernmost private university and the southernmost private university. He's ready and has put together these career technical education programs for across the state. So there's an opportunity, even outside of legislation, to really work with some of the existing programs that are working. And so that's what Mikey and I bring to this, a new look at saying that there's solutions outside of government. There's solutions that can really help us move quicker. There's solutions that can really help those people who are often forgotten. One of the other things that we're looking at is really operational efficiency. A good friend of mine, Randall Pinkett. Randall is a strong Democrat. He was a Rhodes Scholar, and he won Trump's Apprentice. Anybody remember that? Our first African American to win Trump's Apprentice. Do you remember what Trump did?
Fired
him. Trump, when he won, Trump said to him, because there was a woman next, a white woman next who came in second, he said, "Would you share the prize?"
Oh, I remember that.
It was then that we knew exactly what's going on. Exactly what's going on. So Mikey and I will fight to the fullest extent of the law any of the incursions that this administration is trying to do, which includes creating a police state, right? So, which includes, issues that celebrate the diversity of this beautiful state, right? Whether it's called DEI or intercultural skills or other things, it's important. We're not going to stop this idea of really giving everyone an opportunity to live the American dream, everyone the opportunity to get the job that they're qualified for, everyone the opportunity to live the life that they need to live. And so a lot of people, and one of my biggest surprises here is people are saying, "Thank you, Dale, thank you for doing this. This is a dream. This is carrying on the civil rights movement of my dad." The civil rights movement wasn't just about black people being successful. It was about all people. It was about every person to have an opportunity to live the life that they should live. And the other thing is to really work with organizations like this and listen. As I said, Mikey is an amazing listener. And so to really get some ideas. And so this is the campaign. We're trying to campaign as honestly as we can so that when we go into governance, that we can really work with the groups and really listen to what's going on. And to be very honest, to say, "Hey, this is a great idea. We can't do this now." Or what about this? So as I said, we're going to try to really be sensitive to the issues of the people that I know this group is really, really, really focused on. And so we have about 15 minutes. Let me say just a couple more things, and then we'll take some questions. As we look at the future, as we look at where we're going, we've got to be very sensitive to what's gone on in the past, where we are in the present, and where we're going in the future. And we've got to begin to think about what kind of New Jersey do we want to be over the next 4 years. And what that means is really consulting with folks here to say, and I'm, again, having been a consultant, I've done a lot of operational reviews of governments and organizations, and if you don't have a North Star, you don't have a place to go. And so Mikey and I, through this campaign, are talking to people to really begin to identify a North Star. Where are we going to take this state? How are we going to get there? How are we going to use the technology that's available? How are we going to work with people who may have been excluded from this? And I was mentioning Randall Pinkett because he's actually created this state-of-the-art technology to help to improve operations of government. He's working with Westmore in Maryland. We'll look at some of those things to really figure out how can we accelerate the progress in New Jersey. And so it's really, really important for us to use everything. This is a challenging time. This is a time that is not going to be completely fun. But we have to make some hard choices to make this the affordable state that we all want it to be. We have to make some choices to make sure that the education system is not only number one for part of the state, for the entire state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have to make sure that seniors are not moving out. We have to make sure that it's affordable for seniors and that some of the programs that have worked for seniors work. We have to begin to really step back and really look at a new way to do everything that we want to do. So with that, I'll take a few questions. I know folks are anxious to have questions.
All right, so we have stacked the deck with questions here. We basically, given our time constraints, we are going to have each organization ask one question. So up first is going to be CRI's media chairperson, Amber Clements, who's going to ask our first question.
Hello, thank you so much. So our first question actually comes from our creative team. And sorry, I just had it up and then I lost it. Nicole, it's in your thing. All right. It is Governor Newsom has recently taken to parroting Trump in his tweets, an approach similar to the circus-themed puppets that our team has been building. Do you think humor and satire are effective tactics, and how can we continue to use them to highlight the incompetence of this administration?
Well, first of all, I heard about the puppets, and I was hoping there'd be some here that I could see. So we have to understand that there's a new way to do things. Social media, young people, other people respond in different ways. So humor is essential. Humor is very much part of the culture. And then one of the things that we did at Centenary, we're the first. We were actually written up in the New York Post. And whenever you say you're written up in the New York Post, it's normally bad. We're the first university to have a doctorate in happiness studies and a master's in happiness studies in 22 countries. And so it's built on this system called SPIRE, spiritual well-being, physical well-being, intellectual well-being. Oh, I love it. Relational well-being. Entrepreneurial well-being. That is so lifelike. Entrepreneurial well-being. Take a picture. Take a picture with Mikey has a great sense of humor. I have a pretty good sense of humor. Humor is essential. And I think what we have to do is let people know, and that's one of the things that anybody who's been in an organization that I've led, you've got to enjoy it. You've got to do it as a passion. I wouldn't be here if I didn't really enjoy meeting different people, even people who disagree with me. So humor, satire is essential. But people my age aren't as good at it as people your age. And so what we want to do is really engage as many young people, as many other people, to really begin to do that. This is a beautiful state. This is a wonderful country. And we've got to enjoy if you're not enjoying your life. And that's part of why I'm so sensitive to the vulnerable. There's so many people who are just struggling to put food on their table. And what people don't realize is that the trauma that comes from not being able to eat. You know, people used to say, well, why aren't you applying for jobs? And it's because the trauma of that, you're so overwhelmed by not being able to eat, to take care of yourself, pay for health care. So one of the things that we need to do is really make sure that people have a better life, but also satire and humor is essential. It's essential.
Thank you.
Even if you make fun of Mikey and me.
Our next question is going to come from Kate Delaney, who is the president of the South Jersey Progressive Democrats.
Hello, Kate.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Dr. Caldwell, for
Yes.
being here. I know I speak for
honored.
everyone in the room in saying it means a lot to us that you're here in South Jersey.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
So, South Jersey Progressive Dems, along with other grassroots groups up and down the state, are very excited about the New Jersey Climate Superfund Act. This piece of legislation, co-sponsored by Senators Smith and McKeon last legislative session, would make polluters pay for the damages done in our communities. We know the fossil fuel industry has profited mightily and that our communities are dealing with a lot of stressors. It's been a summer of record heat, of flooding, Hurricane Erin just happened along the Jersey Shore, wildfires in the Pine Barrens. So this legislation would create funds so that municipalities would be able to upgrade infrastructure, address flooding, and just generally plan for climate resiliency and address other needs in the community. So my question is, would you and Mikey Sherrill support the New Jersey Climate Superfund Act?
Our focus, well, first of all, I've spent a lot of time in South Jersey. So Karen Elkis, who was there 38 years ago, I was her intern in Senator Lautenberg's office in South Jersey. So I love South Jersey, and I know a lot of the places here. We believe very much in environmental protection and the protection of environmental justice and the opportunity to support programs that really support the environment. And so I can't commit now to do that without Mikey here and really to talk about that. But it matches everything that we want to really make New Jersey the clean state that it needs to be. And there's a history of pollution and other things in other parts of the state that have been cleaned up. Our Superfund program and others have been successful to a large extent. So, it sounds fantastic, but I can't commit to it right now, but it sounds wonderful because that's what Mikey and I believe in.
Fantastic. Okay, we
Yep.
look forward to talking with you more about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Our next question is going to come from Jean Jordan, who is the chair of Action Together Gloucester County.
Hello, Jane.
I also want to say thank you for being here tonight.
it's
It
an
means a
honor.
lot.
It's an honor.
And I think everybody here is going to do whatever they can to get you elected and to get Mikey
All right.
elected. But here's my question. There were hundreds of thousands of registered New Jersey Democrats that didn't even vote in 2024. So I need to ask you, we can't afford to have that happen again.
Right.
What plans do you and Mikey have to get the disenfranchised Democrats out to the polls in November?
That is amazing. That is a wonderful question, and that's the question that we're really focused on in the campaign. One of the things, I was with the Young Democrats in Belmar yesterday and really listening. Part of it, as I said, Mikey and I are listeners. We've got to hear, why didn't you come out? Why were you not energized with what's going on? And so what we have to do, one of the things in consulting that I learned is that every problem is a communication problem. You could be losing money on Wall Street, you could be losing operational things about communication. So somehow we didn't do as good a job of communicating with everybody that we need to. And so part of that is telling folks what's at stake. And I don't know that we've done as good a job as telling it. Now, Trump has given us real life things to say, this is what's happening here. There's no money for the shore repair, right? If you have anyone with cancer or Alzheimer's or any of the other ailments, they don't do it. So we have to communicate that to people of all age. But where's the young lady? We have to do it in a way that's meaningful. We can't take ads out in the newspaper for young people, right? And so what we need to do is begin to really do that. And that's what the campaign team is, and it's really growing now. Admittedly, Jack Trump has been campaigning for 12 years. So if folks don't know him by now, then they'll never know him. Mikey's new. Mikey's, she's loved in her district, and she will be loved in New Jersey. I was a college president and a consultant and a pastor, and so I knew some people, but not the state. So we're spending a lot of time down here and across the state. So we've got to do a better job of communicating. But we also have, and this is what I say, I made a whole bunch of calls today to folks and say, tell me what you're hearing. Tell me what's going on. Tell me why people aren't voting. And let me know what people who are on the other side are. One of the things I learned from my dad, a couple things about my dad. So one, I didn't say, my dad was really one of the first straight black ministers that was 100% supportive of LGBTQ. So much so, he was in PFLAG and went to the Obama White House because of his support for that. And a lot of folks were not supportive of that. So that's where we come from. But we have to really hear from each of you to say, hey, you need to talk to this group. You need to send a surrogate to this group. That seniors aren't really hearing your message. Young people aren't hearing your message. Folks in faith institutions aren't hearing your message. Because, and I got in trouble for saying this my first week, but we don't want to just win. We've got to send a message to Washington. And what that means is there are probably some fringe issues that we might disagree a little bit. We have to say, let's work on that after we're in office. Let's work on those issues because the stakes are too high for us to make a mistake and even give some and win by 2 points. And Trump will say, well, he was just a bad candidate. If we had a better candidate, we would have won. So we've got to really work. And the answer is we've got to hear the bad and the good, right? And so I'm serious about that. And Ish and Karen, we've got to hear that, and we'll make those adjustments. Great question.
Just 2 more questions. Our next question is from Sue Coleman, who is the chair of Action Together Burlington County.
Thank you. And let me add my thanks for you being here today.
That's
it
an
does
honor.
mean a lot, and we need to see more presence of Mikey and the campaign down there.
Absolutely.
Our people, and I think the people in this room, but especially the Action Together people, are the people who knock doors. We've had the luxury of Andy Kim having been our congressman. And now our senator, and has really motivated our groups to be out there knocking on doors, making phone calls, doing the work. But this year, we're having real trouble motivating our people. And it's not because people think, that Jack would be a good option. I mean, people are terrified of the idea of Trump Jr. here being our governor. But they are having trouble articulating why Mikey. They can do the negative message, why not Ciancarelli, but why Mikey? So what is your answer? Why Mikey?
Great question. Very, very great question. So really a few things. I'll start with Mikey's background and my background. So you have 2 people, one who's been a military leader. You have someone who has been as a prosecutor. You have me who has a background in consulting, head of a college, running against someone who's a CPA and a sheriff. And so one of the things is that you look at our leadership record, because leadership is everything. Leadership is everything. You look at our leadership. So that's step one. Step one, who are these people? Where do they come from? Step 2 is, what are we going to do for you? How are we going to help you? Affordability is number 1. Mikey is the only candidate that came out and said, day one, I'm declaring an energy emergency. The rates have not been, the rates have gone up, so that an energy emergency, day one. And as we talk to folks, she can do that. Some people say, oh, you can't do that. You absolutely can do that. Secondly, when you look at regulation, one of the ways that I find it helpful is to talk to people. Have you had any frustration with dealing with government? Well, one of the things that with a consulting background and a leadership background, that we are focused on clearing out the regulations. How do we do that? Well, one, we're really making sure that the regulations make sense. To really look at the regulations, what are they doing? We're also, Mikey has talked about a dashboard. To create a dashboard so that you know when you apply for something at the state, you'll get a chance to see, certainly small businesses get a chance to see where you are in the process. That's number 2. Number 3, public education is essential to the growth of the state. And so when you look at an education, and again, I've been in the K-12, I've been in the higher education, I've been in the vocational education. When you look at education on a continuum from ages 3 to 21, we have to look at how does education help people get viable jobs? How do they get vocational jobs? How do you make college more affordable? Being a college president, I have some great ideas on how we can make college more affordable. So you can begin to talk to people about that. But what I've learned is the first thing is to say, what troubles you in New Jersey? And so when you go out and you knock on a door, instead of saying, vote for Mikey and Dale, what you want to say is, what troubles you in New Jersey? And you look at our policy briefs, and we'll have one for every one of you, and this is where we're going to listen to you. When you go and say, what troubles you in Jersey, and people are saying something that you haven't read about in the Cheryl Caldwell campaign, we're going to make sure to give you that information. So we look to you to tell us what's going to happen. And I'm okay in knocking on some doors with you and really listening to people.
Well, I'll tell you, the issue we are hearing door after door after door is taxes. The only answer we have is freeze utility, which sounds new. All the other affordability points right now, well, we're going to do this half a dozen things on housing. We don't have the sound bites. We don't have the affordability message.
Okay, and we're taking notes for that. So one of the things, and I've been saying this for years, one of the ways to level off taxes and reduce them are through increased ratables, right? And one of the ways to increase ratables are through small businesses. And so what happens is if we put more of a focus on small businesses and we clear out some of the bureaucracy in small businesses so that they can not only generate more revenue, can create more jobs, then that allows municipalities to be able to level off the taxes. So one of the things you're going to hear us roll out this idea of small business growth to make sure that the small businesses are as viable as possible. Small businesses account for 50% of the jobs in New Jersey. They're 99% of the businesses. Yet they've not gotten the support they need, and I'm sure many of you have been part of small businesses. So that's one way to generate additional revenue. But then you look at, depending on ages, your age and so on, some of the programs to make sure that seniors can stay in their home. So that's important. As far as young people, affordability, to really look at increasing more affordable housing, especially in vacant properties, right? To really build them up and make them affordable. One of the other things that we're going to do is to really analyze. There's housing construction every part of the state, really every part of this country, but a lot of that housing is not affordable. So part of it is to really look at and analyze does it cost so much? And what kind of programs can actually help with that? So we're very much on that. But as I said, if there are particular issues that you're not hearing, let us know. Right? And so let us know. Yeah. Okay. Well, let us know, and we're going to respond to it. So
Thank you.
No, but it's great.
And please ask Mikey to come talk to us.
Okay. Yes. So I think it's time. I'm probably going to have to go.
Do we have one more? This is our last question from Elizabeth Bowles, who's the chair of the United Progressive Democrats.
Elizabeth?
Thank you. With respect to your time, I'll be quick. I would like, everyone in this room is aware of a lot of issues that are going on nationally, and they impact us all. And Social Security is under attack, LGBTQIA plus rights are under attack, women are under attack, Medicaid is under attack, immigrants are under attack. What I would like to hear, and what I think a lot of folks here would probably like to hear from you, is what is the plan for working with other blue governors to help build a firewall against against what's coming down at us? Thank you.
Great question. We are blessed to have some of the most extraordinary Democratic governors we've ever had. In Pennsylvania, in Maryland, in Illinois, and so in California as well. And so you're going to see the Democratic leadership coming out. And so I talked to two of the lieutenant governors from the Lieutenant Governor Association in Pennsylvania and Massachusetts about forming an alliance. And so the idea is to work closely and to take best practices from some of those other states. You know, Mikey and I are not coming in with all the answers. We're coming in, listening, hearing, and really duplicating things that make a lot of sense. As I said, Randall's already working with Westmore in Maryland. So there's some real opportunities to do that partnership. We've got to send a message that Democrats are strong, Democrats are leaders, Democrats are standing up for those people who've been forgotten in ways, and Democrats are also fighting the Trump administration that is attacking those folks. And we've seen it with Pritzker, we've seen it, you know, in Pennsylvania and other places. So that's really key for us. So I want to thank you all so very much. This is wonderful.